Hello everybody, it's Adelaja here. I'm back to you today to talk about a very serious topic, understanding suicide, mass shooting, and depression. Understanding suicide, mass shooting, and depression. Very, very sensitive topic. And today I'll be talking about how loneliness could lead to suicide and how loneliness could lead to depression. Very, very serious thing because a lot of people are suffering from loneliness, even as I'm speaking right now. A lot of people are suffering from depressive thoughts and from suicidal thoughts. But when I talk about loneliness today, I would like you to know that loneliness, I'm talking in terms of loneliness inside. Not just loneliness when you are not married or when you are single or when you live alone in the house physically. Physical loneliness is bad enough, but there is a loneliness that is even worse than physical loneliness. And that is the mental loneliness, that is the psychological loneliness, that is the loneliness that is within your thoughts, that is within you, that is in your head. So, but in general, loneliness is loneliness and is bad anyhow. And it could lead to depression, could lead to suicide, could lead to, it could lead to all kinds of negative things, including bad health. Because we are all, as humans, we are created to be social beings. We are all social creations. And what that means is that we are created to relate with people. We are created to relate with, not just with our environment, not just with our four walls of our rooms, not just to relate at work, not just to be a worker, but we are created to have social life as well. We are created to be social beings, to relate, to interact, to build relationships, to interact with other people. We crave it. It is in our system. So if you now live your life in such a way that you don't feel as if you are interacting with people, or you are actually among people, but you are not feeling accepted, you are not feeling welcomed, you are not feeling celebrated, you are not feeling the warmth of people that you are around, that could lead to depression. Of course, it's worse if you are alone by yourself physically and there are nobody to interact with, nobody to build social life with. That could also lead to to depression. But the worst one, because there are a lot of people that could be alone physically, where there are nobody around them, they are by themselves, but they are not depressed and they are not feeling deprived because they have the presence of somebody else inside them. They are interacting inside. They are fulfilling the social need in some other ways. So if mentally you are active, you are socially active, then you might not need somebody to be around you in the physical. But the whole idea is that loneliness is spiritual. Loneliness is mental. Loneliness is within, it's from within. It could be from outside too. Loneliness could also be coming from lack of people to interact with. But we have 7 billion people in the world and a lot of people interact with people but still feel themselves lonely. It's worse when you are married and then you feel yourself lonely. That's even worse. But at the end of the day, we all need social activities, social interaction, and social stimulation. We need to be stimulated socially by other friends and colleagues, family. And that's why we have clubs, that's why we have communities, that's why we have church, that's why we have friends, that's why we have colleagues at work. So if we don't have that, if we don't have it physically, or we don't have it mentally, or psychologically, socially, then that could be a reason for depression. That could lead us to to depression. But what we all have to be careful about is that we don't estrange ourselves inside or outside. Self-estrangement is the biggest problem, because people might not be relating with you physically, but you are not estranged from your community, from your environment, from the world around you. If you are not estranged, then you are fine. Even if you are alone where you are, but mentally you are not estranged from activities, from social life, from the world that you are able to paint for yourself, then you are going to be fine. There have been stories of people who went through concentration camps, and they were able to survive it because in their mind they were creating social interaction. They were creating a world within them with which they were interacting. So it is mental. Why some people were dying, why they were leading some people to death, the people who had life inside them, who had interaction, who had social life, they survived it and they lived to tell the story. So, and another form of loneliness, which is the worst form of loneliness, is it's connected to what I've been saying, but is loneliness of thoughts. Is when you are not exchanging your thoughts and you are not exchanging your mind with other people. It's when you are holding to your thoughts and only your thoughts, and you are the only life you are living is living inside your thoughts, and you are not letting go of your thoughts. Because that's one of the reasons for interaction with other people. When we interact with other people, we get to hear other people's thoughts, other people's understanding, and we are able to exchange our thoughts with other people. We are able to sell some of our thoughts to other people, and then we are also able to, take thoughts of other people to ourselves as well. So, but even when you are in the midst of people, in a community and in a group, but you hold on to your thoughts, and you are only thinking your own thoughts, and you are only living your own thoughts, then that could be a problem. That could be a problem, because then that will be your reality. What thoughts do is that they create a reality for us. So your thoughts will become your reality. If the only reality you know are the things that you are thinking over and over again, that will be your reality, and that will lead to segregation, loneliness, and that loneliness of thoughts will lead to depression. So our thoughts are important, and that's why our thoughts should be dynamic. We should be dynamic in our thoughts. We should study, we should learn and relearn and unlearn. That is how we say we educate ourselves, and that's the best way to learn these days. When you learn, relearn, and unlearn, you unlearn and relearn. And so your thoughts are dynamics, you are learning new things, you're interacting within yourself, there is a life going on inside you. But this could be either when you are alone or when you are with people. But when you hold on to your thoughts and you are not coming out of your thoughts, you are not letting go of your thoughts, then that becomes a factor that could lead to depression. It could also lead to phobia. Because when you are so used to your thoughts and you are living in your own world, sooner or later you'll be afraid of even letting those thoughts go. You begin to think that if I let these thoughts go, what will happen to me? So you begin to have the fear of letting go of yourself, letting go of your thought. That's how people develop phobias. Phobia, and phobia is the fear of something. And those fears come because we don't know what will happen if something happens. So the phobia that will come here is that you don't know what will happen if you let this thought go, if you begin to think outside of the box, if you begin to embrace other people's thoughts, or if you give up your own thoughts, or if you come out of your own world, your own shell. And that shell is could become a prison yard for you, could become a prison for you, and then the fear will not allow you to let it go. So when I'm talking about loneliness leading to depression, I'm talking about internal loneliness, loneliness of your thoughts, loneliness of your world, and not letting go. Another factor that I would like to speak about is when you are lonely inside, when you are not exchanging socially, when you are not exchanging your thoughts, your life, your experiences, when you are not interacting in real life, you would then tend to identify yourself with yourself. You tend to identify yourself with yourself. What that means is that you identify yourself only with what's going on within you. You begin to identify yourself only with your thoughts. You begin to identify yourselves only with your reality. And very soon, you will begin to think that that is who you are. Because in reality, our thoughts is not who we are. We are more than our thoughts. We are only able to think about what we see, what we hear, what comes to our mind, and all that. That's what our thoughts are. But you are more than that. You are more than what you see, what you hear, what you can touch, what is even going on within you, what you are thinking at this particular time. So we are more than our thoughts. But for someone who is depressed, for someone who is lonely, so for someone who is lonely and who is depressed too, you will begin, sooner or later, you will be so used to yourself that you begin to think that that is who you are. And even people who are not depressed have that tendency. People who are not having negative thoughts also, people who are not lonely also have that tendency. The tendency to think that the way they are thinking is who they are. But we all know that we all change our minds, right? Time to time, time after time, we change our minds, we change our thoughts, we change our opinion, we change our beliefs, we change our convictions, which means our thoughts are not who we are, our convictions are not who we are, because they could be temporary, they could be just for the meantime, and we could change them. So, but when someone is lonely, that's the only companion you have. Your only companion becomes your thought. And because you have been together with that thought for so long, you begin to think that that is who you are. And that is why a lot of people don't want to change. That is why change is tough for many people. Many people cannot change because they are afraid that they will let themselves go. It's like saying you are asking them to jump from the helicopter or from the plane without a parachute. So they are afraid of letting go of themselves. They think if they lose their thought, they will lose who they are. That's why a lot of people are afraid of changing their religion. A lot of people are afraid of leaving their countries. A lot of people are afraid of doing things that they are not used to doing because they have come to believe that their thoughts and their thought process is who they are. So if you really want to overcome depression, and if you don't want to ever get to be a depressed person, you need to learn this lesson, and you need to learn this lesson and convince yourself about this fact that your thoughts are not who you are. Your thoughts are not you. Your thoughts are your thoughts. They are under you. They should be under your power. They should be under your control. And you should be able to change them whenever you want to change them. Your belief system right now is not who you are. It's not the totality of yourself. Don't identify yourself with those things. Don't come to the conclusion that's who you are. Because once you begin to do that, then you are secluded already. You are isolated. And that is also a form of, it will lead you to a form of loneliness. When you just live in your own world, and it's difficult for you to change your mind, and then those thoughts become toxic to you. they become toxic sooner or later. They become a cage for you. They put you in a trap, and you will not be able to embrace other beautiful things of life that the world has to offer for us. Because when we say we are a social being, you are not just supposed to interact with human beings, but we could also interact with nature. We could interact with animals. We could interact with the nature and ecology and life, the nature that God has given to us. So, but, living just one in your own, within you, in your own thought alone, will deprive you of the opportunity to be able to embrace some of these wonderful things that God has offered, that God has to offer you. So I'm going to encourage everybody that is listening to us to overcome loneliness by dealing with his mind, with his thought process, and by not enslaving himself or his thoughts, by not enslaving his mind and the things that are inside of you. Otherwise you'll soon be afraid of embracing, of coming out of your shell, and of embracing other things that the world and life has to offer you. Another reason for loneliness and that could lead to depression is people become lonely a lot of times because they don't want to share their thoughts, especially their negative thoughts, with other people. If you are not interacting with people, if you are not sharing your thoughts, your mind with people, especially your negative thoughts, that could lead to depression right there. If you have some negative ideas, negative thoughts, or bad thoughts about yourself, if you don't want to share with your friends, because sometimes you are not sure if these friends will take advantage of you or not, why don't you go to a specialist? Why don't you go to a psychotherapist and talk to them? Somebody that doesn't know you, somebody that will keep a confidential report about your situation. Just talk and go and express yourself. Some churches practice confession to the priest. Maybe that could help you, but it's a kind of therapy too. It's a kind of psychotherapy. But a lot of churches these days, Pentecostal churches, don't practice that too much, but Catholic churches practice that, Orthodox churches practice that. But the idea is that if one should begin to have a negative thought, any thought that begins to push you or nag on you, or that is a nagging thought in you, and you cannot get rid of it, you start discovering that you cannot get rid of it, look for a doctor, look for a psychotherapist, look for a pastor or a leader or a friend, somebody that will be able to understand you and listen to you and be able to help you to, to get rid of those thoughts. But especially they become dangerous and they could lead to suicide and mass shooting when they are negative. When you discover that you are having these negative thoughts about yourself, no, you don't stop fighting it, because that's another problem that some people have. They try to fight the thought, and I've spoken about that you cannot fight a thought with a thought, and most of the time you will lose. There are other instruments, there are other keys to use to fight negative thoughts. I've spoken about that. If you didn't hear that previously, go listen to them. But let me also talk about one mistake that I made personally, and a lot of people are making when they are trying to fight against negative thoughts. They concentrate on that thought and begin to think about it to get rid of it. I remember I wrote it in my book, Masturbation. Do we have that book on masturbation? Let's put it there. Because this book that I have there now, The Plague of Silence, will really help you to speak out, to be able to break the jinx of silence in yourself and loneliness. But apart from this book, The Plague of Silence, I have another book that is on masturbation. Because that is one thing that a lot of young people struggle with, especially boys. And one of the reasons why I could not get delivered and I could not break the jinx of masturbation in my life was because I was always concerned about it. It was such a negative thing for me because I was a Christian, and I was thinking, how could I be doing this? And I'm a believer. I hate it. I thought I hated it, and I thought I didn't like it. Why am I doing it? So I kept on thinking about that sin. And that's a problem, because the more you think about something, the more you go deeper into it. Yeah, I didn't know this at that point. I didn't know that if I didn't like it and I didn't want to think about it, I didn't want to practice it, I didn't want to do this thing again, I should not keep on worrying about it. I should not keep on bothering myself, worrying and troubling myself, thinking of how bad I've done, how bad this thing is, how I've disappointed God, how God doesn't like it, and how this is dangerous. I mean, this is I'm a sinner. So the more you think about your sin, the more you go deeper into that sin. That is what I'm trying to say. That is not the best way to get rid of your sin. If you want to get rid of your sin, don't think about it. Find a way to get rid of the thought about it. Don't even think about it. Don't dwell on it. When you dwell on it, that's when you really get yourself into the soup. There is so that's one of the real keys that helped me to get rid of masturbation. And that book, the Understanding and Overcoming Masturbation, will really help in that sense, because a lot of people who, not just masturbation, but any sin, if you are involved in any sin and you keep on thinking about that sin, it's most likely that you will keep on falling into that sin. But if you are able to think less, then, and another thing that they tell us to do in church is that when you are having a sin or negative thing in your life, you begin to think about, you begin to pray about them. So I used to pray about it, masturbation and temptation. I used to pray about them all the time. Don't let me fall into this temptation. But the more you are praying about it, the more you remind yourself of it. The more you pray about it, the more you keep your memory fixed on it. And anything that you keep your memory fixed on, it becomes your reality. Anything that you keep on thinking about becomes your reality. So because I kept on praying about this and, begging God to deliver me from it, it becomes more of my reality. So there is an example, there is an anecdote that people, and it's not just an anecdote, it's a real life situation that people speak about. They speak about the big pink elephant. Maybe you heard about that big pink elephant. They say, so a teacher comes to the class and told the students, don't think, I want to tell you about the big pink elephant. Don't think about it, but I don't want you to think about it, okay? But I just want to tell you that don't think about the ears that are pink. Those pink ears, don't think about them. Don't think about the tail that is pink. Don't think about the nose that the horn that is on, that is pink. Don't think about the pink, the feet of this elephant. Don't think about the pink color of the elephant. Don't think about, you see that how can elephant be pink? Don't think about it. Well, then the teacher said, okay, let's go and do other subjects. Let's do mathematics or physics. And the teacher couldn't understand. Why is it that the students couldn't get going? And the reason is because everybody is thinking about the big pink elephant. Even you yourself can experiment it right now. I said, don't think about it. That's what you'll be imagining. How can the ear be pink, legs be pink, everybody pink? Pink elephant? You want to see it. Because they're telling you not to think of the ears or the horn, of the feet, and of the color. They are painting the picture for you. They are painting the imagination for you. And then at the end of the day, that's the only thing you end up thinking about. So that is how sin works in our lives. If we have a thought of sin, you privatize it because you are thinking about it all the time. And it leads you to isolation. And that isolation is what we are talking about. That's loneliness. And that isolation, you and the thought alone, it will kill you. Unless you use the principles that we have spoken about in this series to get rid of it. Don't think about it. Think less about it. Don't even pray about it. You can pray about it one time, give it to God, and forget it there. Leave it to God. Cast your cares upon Him and don't worry about it. Go your way. Forget about it. This is how to overcome loneliness, not just physical loneliness, but internal loneliness, which is even more serious. Well, I think I've spoken enough. I've said enough for today. I would like to encourage you to join my mentorship program, which is for free on my blog, adelajablog.com/mentorship. And if you don't want to get this book on masturbation for yourself, for your son, for your teenagers, or you want to get any other of my books, you can get them on Amazon. And besides that, you could also get them in Nigeria physically. If you go to the website that is called www.dsabooksplanet.com. You can get them physically, but if you want to get them electronically, you could go to okadabooks.com. And yeah, like I said, mentorship program, go to adelajablog.com/mentorship. If you want to join us to Nigeria for the Nigerian project, you could also go to adelajablog.com/Nigeria. Thank you so very much for your time. For today, we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.